What's going on, you guys? Jacobrdoty here, back for another video. Weird angle to start the vlog, I know. And I know the title, some of you guys are like, I don't need this video, but you may find some tips in here that might work out for you a little bit better than what you're doing already. But I'm here in a parking lot just to kind of get started on how to drive manual. And the biggest thing is obviously the main start. But let me do a little backstory on what this car is. So this is my 2013 Mustang GT. It is an MT82 manual. MT82 is the transmission, 6-speed manual. It also has a Mantic twin disc clutch. So if you guys don't know what that is, a normal clutch has 1 disc, this has 2. So it's a little bit more difficult to drive. There's a little bit more, like, I don't know, you have to have a softer touch, I guess. That's the best way to describe it. But for most other cars, stock transmissions, this is gonna be no big deal. Another thing is I have a short throw shifter. So as you can see, it's a very short throw. A normal one is probably from here to here. This one's very short. I can almost do it in my wrist. So those are the really only differences between my car and maybe your car at home. But this would work in a BMW, a Miata, anything, a Mustang, a Challenger, whatever. So one of the biggest things everyone always worries about is obviously the starting, just getting off the line. That's the hardest thing possible. Other than that, it's kind of smooth. Once you've already learned how to drive, you're just adding an extra step with your feet. So your left foot is only going to do the clutch. This is me just going all the way in and out through the clutch. Make sure you're sitting right to where your foot is not overly extended, and make sure you're not right up on top of it so it's not cramping you up. But just put it all the way to the ground. Just go through the gears. Feel what it is, right? Most shifters have what gears they are, but it's standard. It's an H pattern shifter. First, all that, right? The only thing that's weird is some reverses are a little different. Once you have your seating position up, you've kind of felt through the gears, the next biggest thing in your mind is that you're going to use as little throttle as you need to get going. So I have a lightweight flywheel, which again doesn't really mean much, but it revs up very fast. Now, a rev is a revolution per minute, RPM, you know. So whenever you're going, you're trying to go maybe at 1500 RPM. So that's where you want to be. If you go over that, it's not terrible. You can prematurely wear out your clutch, but the big thing is it's going as little RPM as you need just to get going. So I'll show you guys real quick. You may not even hear it. I'm at 900 and I'm going very slow out of the clutch. And as you can see, not the smoothest, but I also got moving. So that was the big thing there. Free advertisement for UPS. So I put it back in neutral, clutch out, just on the brake. And that's pretty much it. You want it, that's the biggest tip, I'd say. You're gonna go to an empty parking lot just like this. You're gonna put it in first and try and use as little throttle and go as slowly out on the clutch as you can. Literally with this car, there's so much torque, I can not even touch, like look at my right leg, it's empty. We're moving, right? I'm not even hitting the throttle, it's wiggling around. I can just feather my clutch enough to get us moving. So that is where you wanna be. Now, I'm not saying I'm the best freaking manual driver in the world. I have a lot to learn, but I at least know enough to help you guys, because I've gotten some messages recently about people picking up their cars and driving manual. So once you've kind of played with that, right? So that's your first lesson, is just go to an empty parking lot, use as little throttle as you can, and just get going, right? That's the easiest thing you can do. Once you have that and you can stop and do that efficiently, you can go to the road, I would say. Because the next step is, how do you shift, right? So you're moving along, we're in first, we're going. You go to whatever speed and you put the clutch in, move to second, and then let out the clutch slowly. And you don't even have to give it throttle, depending on what kind of drive. And holy crap, there's speed bumps. I didn't know that. Let me circle back around and kind of clear that up again. So we're in first, we're dead stop. Clutch in first, right? You're gonna, here's your left foot, here's your right foot. You're gonna let out the clutch to just that point where you start to feel it grab, give it the breathing of throttle that you need. And then you just slowly let out and add a little bit more throttle. That's the movement. So you can kind of get this down, right? And that's how you start going. Then when you go in first, you're cruising along, you're moving right now. Your feet are like this, nothing on the clutch. You're giving a little quarter throttle just to accelerate. You're going into second gear. So you're gonna fully let off the throttle, full down on the clutch. Literally, this is your motion. So you're gonna roll at the same time. You're gonna change your gear, and then you're gonna roll back on opposite, same time. That's the true smoothness. Now you can do it where you just let off, clutch in, and then change gears, and then let out, put gear on, or put throttle back on. It's not as smooth, but it will do the job. You will move the car and you'll go faster. So really the big thing here is just rinse and repeat. Do it over and over until you can do it anytime you want. So you start moving, give it a little throttle, nice and smooth, right? No one really, that's just how it is. Once you start driving it, literally all my cars are manual, so once you're just used to it, that's how you drive. Now from that, there are varying degrees of how hard you want to take off. There's the I'm cruising in traffic like this. You can see I'm going very slow around the turn, first gear. And then there's the, let me see if I can do a little acceleration here. And then there's the hot shot, I'm trying to take off, right? So that there's different methods to it, but the whole way of letting out the clutch to the grab point and giving it more throttle, you're just modulating how much clutch you let out and how much throttle you give it. Also, think of first and reverse as identical. So in reverse, you're just going into your reverse gear, however you get there, and you act like it's first because you're at a dead stop, or you're going very slow backwards, like downhill, you know? So reverse is basically first, and the way to just do that is you take off and slowly let out the clutch, slowly give it enough throttle just to keep it moving for a nice smooth launch, and that's how you do it. So it's very easy in that sense. This is almost like an advertisement for Mantic clutch because you can see the manners of this car with a clutch that's rated for 1,000 torque. Now for most cars, you don't wanna rev all the way out until the absolute red line, right? You're wanting to cruise around. So shift about halfway. That should give you just enough in the power band to get going, but also where you're not just wasting gas. For most cars, just to get moving. Now that you guys have made it this far and you've seen just the basics, I wanna show you guys me on the road, just driving, just running around town, so you can see kind of what it's like in different scenarios. So you can see I'm moving very slow. I'm in first gear. Oh yeah, that's scraped. I have airbags. Why don't I just air up? But you can see it's just all dependent on what scenario you're in. So I'm going very slow here to leave out. Rolling on about quarter throttle, shift. So you can hear I'm not on throttle while I'm moving this. It's starting to come down and I'm putting in the clutch while I'm moving the shifter. If you do this and leave it on throttle, see how it revs up as I'm moving into the next gear? I didn't release the throttle. So that just comes down to, again, practice with your feet and knowing exactly what they're doing. For most people, they're used to 1-foot driving. Now this is a performance car and the transmission is set up to be shifted quickly, and that's why it's shorter throws and stuff like that. But for most average cars, you don't have to be gassing it and really throwing it into the gears and all that. It will fall into gear. Like that's a downshift, downshift. I mean, this thing, it's meant to be shifted easily. You shouldn't have to force it. If you have to force it into gear, you're gonna grind a gear or you're gonna do some extra wear and tear and damage on your transmission, potentially damage. So now we're on the freeway and I'll show you guys that downshifting. I'm cruising in 6th gear, right? 65 miles an hour, speed limit. I'm currently at 1900 RPM. I wanna go fast, I wanna pass somebody. See how it sounds like it's lugging? I'm not accelerating nearly as fast as what this car can do. And that's because the power band is a lot higher. So it's just not doing what it's supposed to do with this car being performance-based. I can't tell if I have a cop behind me or not. I don't believe so. I'm gonna risk it all for you guys just to teach you guys something, but you can see I'm in 6th gear. I want to downshift and rev match into 5th. Effortless, no movement, no bucking, anything like that. Now I can shift up without rev matching because it's a lower RPM. Now let's say we're going into 4th. I'm gonna have to do 2 rev matches. So the tachometer will kind of bump twice. You'll see that, so you'll listen to it too. See, I did it twice and still no bucking. Let me do the exact same thing without rev matching. 6th gear, 5th gear. You kind of saw my body move. Now we're going into 4th gear. It's not that abrupt because I have a clutch built for it, but in a normal car, that would be pretty shaky. So why do you downshift? Let's say you gotta pass somebody and it's lugging the car. So we can pass this guy here, we're gonna downshift. That sounds a whole lot better than that lugging sound like this if I was to do the same pass. And I'm not going anywhere. I'm just making a bunch of noise. Most automatic cars will boom, boom, downshift automatically for you and get you into that passing gear. With a manual, you manually do that. I just realized I've been wearing my sunglasses on the back of my head when I could use them on the front. So now you're gonna hop onto the freeway, right? And that's a big fear. You have to get up to speed. That's a lot of people are going 70 miles an hour and you have that far to go to get up to speed. So you're gonna have to do all these processes a lot faster. You're gonna have to do it quick. And so I wanna show you guys that really quick because you don't wanna sacrifice necessarily smoothness just to make it happen fast because you can wear out your transmission. So I'm all alone basically on this on-ramp and I'm gonna gun it in second. So you can make it quick and smooth. You don't hear grinding, you don't hear bucking, any of that. And that's really your goal here. Now I didn't rev it out all the way. I'm also not trying to shift as fast as possible. I'm just trying to show you guys you can do it very quick. And then there's some downshifts. So we're going to second. Very smooth, and I'm turning. So it didn't upset the chassis. When you upset the chassis, there's a lot of issues that could come with that, especially mid-turn. Do another quick pull here, quick shifts. I don't have to force it into gear, it pops into gear, but you can just do the process very quickly. So the main thing here with transmission, manual transmissions, don't prematurely wear all the parts out. If it sounds bad, if it feels bad, if it feels, geez, that bump was crazy. If it feels bad, like you're forcing it into gear and you're hearing grinding noises, you're hearing the bucking of the car wants to die, there's an issue. However, it's not the end of the world if you do accidentally grind a gear. Don't force it, just let off. It'll go into gear when it's ready. And also if you do have the car die and stall, not the biggest into the, geez, these roads. And if you do have a car that stalls out on you while you're learning, again, not the end of the world. Just go ahead and practice a little bit more, start up the car again, you're fine. Now, if there's anything else you guys have questions about or want to learn, leave a comment down below and I'll try to get to those. I might even make a full video on it. Another benefit of manuals is, man, you're so much more connected to the car, it feels like. If you need to get down in a couple gears, a couple seconds later, you can just do it yourself and feel it. Why would you pull out in front of me, lady? Thank you very much. Another reason to downshift is when people pull out in front of you. But you just feel so connected to the car. Like I knew exactly what that was gonna do. I was ready to go and I could get back into my speed and get back on the throttle. All those things make you feel so much more connected to the car. And that's why I love manual transmissions. I'm gonna go ahead and end class right here. I hope you guys enjoyed as always. If you did, then please comment, like, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time.